right, so welcome everyone. Welcome to my live Q&A session. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. Just making sure I got all my screens open. All right, so welcome. I'm Amy Zellmer, and you are here because you are interested in my Ink and Inspiration 6-month book writing mastermind course. And I'm so excited you're here and you're curious, and I'm looking forward to hearing what questions you might have. And first, I'm going to go through a little bit of who I am and all of that before we get to the Q&A portion. We got a few more people coming in. So I'm just going to give like another minute until we jump into it, because I know not everybody's clocks are synchronized, especially after this weekend going back an hour. I don't know if the rest of you, it's 2 o'clock, but it feels like it's 5 right now. I don't know why it's so hard to fall back in the fall, but I struggle with going back much worse than in the spring when we go ahead. All right. Okay, just waiting here another minute. And go ahead and in the chat, go ahead, let me know where you guys are joining from. I love seeing where everybody joins in from, and let me know where you're at in your book writing journey. Maybe it's just something you've been thinking about. Maybe you've already started. Maybe you have a finished manuscript. Just go ahead, drop in the chat. Let me know where you're from and where you're at on your book journey. Maybe you're just curious. Maybe you've always wanted to write a book, but you just don't know where to start. And, that's this course is exactly for all of the above. Colleen said, haven't started yet, just a lot of journaling. And this course will be really for no matter where you're at, whether you've only thought about it, maybe you've started, maybe you have a full manuscript but don't know what to do with it. So, or maybe you've already published a book and are looking to go deeper and do more. Janet said her first book is finished but not published, and she's working on her second. Good for you. And Linda says, I have several ideas for multiple books and have a blog, but I'm scared. Yep, I hear you there. I get that. Okay, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen, and I'll kind of just jump into a little presentation for you guys. All right. So today what I'm going to talk about a little bit about why your story is important for the world to hear, creating your platform and growing your list or your audience. We'll just briefly talk about the different types of publishing, and then, of course, I'll give you some more information on the Ink and Inspiration program. So who am I? So for those of you who might not really know who I am the editor-in-chief of Midwest Yoga and Life magazine. I have published 6 books. 4 of the 6 have received a book award, and 1 hasn't been entered yet because it was just published this year. And then 1 did not win an award. But that's all part of the program, is hearing about my successes and my failures, because we learn from our failures. I'm a podcast host, and I'm a former professional photographer. I had a photo studio for over 20 years here in the Twin Cities. And I started blogging way back in 2003 on Xanga. I don't know if any of you have even heard of Xanga. It was, before social media. It was before we had WordPress sites that really allowed us to have a blog on our website. We used this site called Zanga to host our blogs, and it kind of became like the first social media platform too. I believe MySpace may have existed already. I can't remember when that one came around, but Zanga was kind of like our first social media platform in a way, because we would all comment on each other's blogs and we got to know each other that way. So that was kind of fun, but I always knew I wanted to write a book. I just had no idea what that book might be. I always thought my first book was going to be a business book, how to help other photographers with their business. But I've always said, if you have a blog, you have a story. And if you have a story, you have a book. And even if you don't have a blog, you can start writing today and you could have a book in a few short months. And, just depending on what genre you're interested in, if you're writing fiction or if you're writing nonfiction or if you're writing a memoir, depending on the style of book that you're writing. But the short answer is just start writing. And every day, write something. And it doesn't have to be a lot of words. It can just be a couple hundred words. It's whatever comes out that day. Because some days a couple hundred words is hard. Other days 2,000 words comes out like nothing. So it's just about being consistent. It's, if you do yoga, you have a consistent yoga practice, right? It's the same thing, having a consistent writing practice. So I had a story that needed to be shared. In 2014, I fell on an icy driveway. And so over here, you see me with my little Yorkie Pixie. And I had taken her out in the morning to go for her little walk. And it was that winter when we stayed like 20 below for a month. And I had taken her out, and she was like, if you have a little dog, they're like, I don't want to walk. And so I had picked her up and was carrying her down our driveway. And in the back of our apartment building, it was fairly steep, and then it kind of turned at the end. And I hit a patch of black ice. My feet literally just went out from underneath me because I had her in my arm. They think I kind of, cradled her, and literally my head broke the fall. I made impact with my skull. And when I got up, Pixie was probably 15, 20 feet away from me. So I didn't think I had blacked out, but then when the doctor kind of walked me through it, well, Pixie was in your arm. Where was she when you got up? And so clearly she had had time to get up and walk away. So she's the only one that knows how long I was unconscious, but we do think it was probably like 2 minutes or so. But I was diagnosed with a severe concussion or traumatic brain injury. I had major whiplash. I had dislocated my sternum, and I tore all the muscles in my neck and chest area. So I had a lot of physical on top of the brain injury. And that's really all the doctors were concerned about. They just kept writing off my brain injury symptoms. And friends kind of started slipping away after time. They were like, it's been 6 weeks. I don't understand. Get over it. And it was really frustrating. Meanwhile, I didn't know how to use my microwave. I couldn't remember people's names. I had like number dyslexia. Like I would transpose like a time and a day, right? Like if I was trying to schedule someone's appointment, I'd schedule them for 10 a.m. on the 3rd, but then I'd put it in my calendar for 3 on the 10th. So it was really challenging running a business and having all of these cognitive problems. But I ended up on my 1-year anniversary, I wrote a blog on my own personal blog about what I've been going through. And this was sort of a way for me to be kind of like, hey, friends who all left me, this is what I've been going through. And my new friend, she was a neighbor in my apartment building. She suggested I submit it to the Huffington Post. And I was like, why? And she's like, I just have a feeling. I don't know. She's like, I think people need to hear the story. And so she helped me figure out how to submit it. We submitted it, and I heard back from Ariana Huffington herself within 2 hours. And she told me that they wanted to run it. And it went live about 2 weeks later in February. Um, and it went incredibly viral. It was the craziest thing I did not see coming. Um, I was watching the little like counter on the back end, and it was like, wow, I have 2,000 likes. That's pretty amazing. Wow, I have 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. It was being shared everywhere on the internet. And I mean, it was being shared by people I didn't even know. And I actually had a friend send me a link, and he was like, "Hey, I thought of you. You might like this article. The author even has a Yorkie." And I clicked, and it was my article, and I'm like, read the byline, because who reads a byline, right? Most people don't look at who the author is. And he was like, "Oh my God, it's you." And so just knowing that the reach it was having was just incredible. And then I started having people reach out to me. Um, so HuffPost shared at the time, um, they would put your Twitter name so you could like directly link with their Twitter. So people were reaching out to me on Twitter. They were finding me just on the internet. They were sending me emails. They were finding me on Facebook. And they were saying things like, thank you for writing this. This is my story. You wrote exactly how I feel. I've shared this with my family and friends. And up until this point, I didn't know anyone else who'd had a traumatic brain injury. So all of a sudden, I was like, wow, there's so many of us out here. And that's when I knew I needed to keep writing. Um, so on the left here, this is my little claim to fame. This is the front page of HuffPost, like a day or two after it went live. And here's my article. And then here's Jon Stewart, and then Christina Aguilera had her baby. So that's my claim to fame, that I shared the front page with them. But then I kept writing. So I reached back out to Ariana, and she said they'd love for me to become a contributor. So I continued writing on HuffPost. I just kept sharing what I was going through. And in the meantime, I created a private Facebook group where I could send people so that we could all be in one place. And then I would also link it at the end of every article. And that group quickly grew to a couple thousand members. But then my story continued. So that happened in February. I kept writing. In May, I was invited to join a writing group. And when I joined the group, they were like, "Girl, you have a book." Like, I think I had maybe 10 or 12 articles written at that time. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You turn this into a book." And I was like, "I have no idea how to do that. Like, you're talking Greek to me." And keep in mind, I was still just 1 year out from my brain injury. I hadn't had any proper recovery yet. And they're like, "Well, we can help you with all that. We know how to do all that stuff." So in August, I launched my Kickstarter, and it actually got fully funded in the first 3 hours. I raised $3,671 on my first Kickstarter, which was the startup money I needed to publish my book. So in November of 2015, I released my first book, which was Life with a Traumatic Brain Injury, Finding the Road Back to Normal. I submitted it in the Midwest Independent Book Awards, and it received a silver medal in the book awards, which this meant so much to me because I felt like I had no idea what I was doing publishing a book. And so this solidified that my book was indeed worthy of being a book, right? Like um, the top 3 books in a category, and I was in the health and wellness category. The top 3 books get medals, and so I was in the top 3 in the health and wellness category. So that just and it's a pretty prestigious book award here in the Midwest. So that just really, really helped my confidence level. Um, writing your story can be therapeutic, not only for you, but for your reader as well. How can your story change others' lives? And this goes for fiction and nonfiction, right? How many of you have read a fiction book and got totally lost in the book, right? And just not that maybe you had an impact, but on changing that person's life, but you had an impact on their life. You gave them hours of entertainment while you're reading the book. And for nonfiction writers, whatever your niche is, whatever genre you're speaking to, you very well have the opportunity to touch someone's life. And it turned out I had a whole lot more to say after my first book. My second book was actually the one on the right, Surviving Brain Injury: Stories of Strength and Inspiration. This was an anthology. So I had like 1,000 people in this Facebook group. And so I invited them to be part of an anthology, and I had 89 of them participate in this book. So it's 89 survivor stories. And then my third book is my second book, right? The second one I wrote, Embracing the Journey, Moving Forward After Brain Injury. And this one, I had no intention of doing another book, but then I got better. I got the right treatment and the right help, and I got better. And so I knew I had to put another book out because I got better. Other people had to know that that's possible. And then as time went on, I did a series called Concussion Discussions. And so these both are anthologies of doctors and providers. So this first one here, this one received a gold medal in the book awards, took first place. And we had, I believe, 20 professionals write their story. And then the second one here, this one came out in 2020, and then this one was 2021, late 21. And in conjunction with the book, we also had an online summit. So like you signed up for the summit each day for a week, you got an email with videos to watch, interviews with each of these providers. And so they complemented each other. And then, you can purchase the recordings for like $29 or something like that. So that was my concussion discussion series. And then this year, I published the Chair Yoga Pocket Guide. And so this is my first non-TBI book, although I do reference it in here. But it's my first non-TBI book. And this one was the hardest one for me. This one, I had the most imposter syndrome. I was like, who am I to write this book? I've only been a yoga teacher for a few years, but there's a huge need for more chair yoga resources. And as someone who is working mostly with TBI people, I did Zoom yoga. I still do Zoom yoga with TBI individuals. And so I knew this book was needed. And so it's a lot of photos on how to do a pose in a chair. And so that one came out this year and has also done really well. It has not gone into the book awards yet because those won't get issued until next year. But I'm definitely entering it. We'll see how it does. Wish me luck. So now this brings us to my next point. Your book won't sell itself. And this is why you need to grow your audience early and create raving fans. Only 0.06% of books sell 1,000 copies. And there are over 6 million books on the market. Sorry, 6 billion. Did I say million? Billion. But I don't say this to discourage you. I say this to encourage you. I feel like when you know these things ahead of time, it gives you that motivation to put things into place. So just real quickly, I have 12 key strategies to grow your list. And I think the thing most authors, the biggest misnomer out there is that if you put your book on Amazon, you're going to sell lots of copies. And that's really not how it works. You have to put a lot of effort into selling your book. Have a marketing budget. You have to put a little bit of money in to play the game. I have found Facebook ads to be one of the best ways to keep my book out there. Have a marketing plan, plan out the different ways, just like you have a business plan for your business, have a marketing plan for your books. Email marketing is still king or queen. Email marketing, when you get someone's email, you own that email. No one can take it away from you unless they unsubscribe. Social media, could go away tomorrow, right? Or you could get banned if I've heard a lot of people getting banned from Facebook recently. But email marketing is still king. And when you have someone's email and you can market to them through email, and keeping in front of them, keeping your name in front of them. Content marketing is where you give them content in exchange for their email. So it's kind of your list building thing. For authors, it might be like, if say you're nonfiction, like for me, for TBI, it could be like a top 10 TBI symptoms and how to help them. If you're a business coach or a yoga teacher, it could be different things on how to help somebody. Like a yoga teacher might be like, my top 10 favorite poses. I'm just putting something real simple out there. But this is something that somebody is interested in. Oops, sorry, hit the button. It's something that someone is interested in and will give you their email in exchange for receiving that. Of course, we have social media marketing, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Pinterest, TikTok, there's so many of them. So I always say pick your top 2 or 3 that you want to market to. Facebook is still hands down the #1 platform. They have 1 billion more users than Instagram, which is #2. So, and that is active daily users, not just people who have an account. That's active daily users. So Facebook is still the #1, even though a lot of people say they're leaving Facebook. But I have found Facebook to be my most successful medium for book sales. And then Instagram has definitely been my #2. Oh, and LinkedIn. I always forget LinkedIn. LinkedIn's also another really good social media platform. In-person networking, getting in person, whether that's your Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, women networking groups, right? There's Women in Business and Well Women Connected. There's numerous groups out there, but get in person and network with people. Snail mail is making a comeback because nobody's doing it anymore. So people actually read mail that isn't a bill, right? So snail mail is an effective means of advertising if you have a mailing list. Syndicating and repurposing your content. Do guest blogs on other people's blogs. Repurpose your content into perhaps a podcast or an ebook, or that content for your content marketing. So just repurposing your content, working smarter, not harder. Podcasts, getting on a podcast as a guest. So kind of researching what podcasts are out there that might be your target audience. And it's really as simple as just writing the host and introducing yourself and pitching yourself to be on their podcast. Podcasts can be a really great way to get your name out there to different people's audiences. Same with videos. I know a lot of people are scared to do videos like Facebook Live, Instagram Live, stuff like that, TikTok. I'm actually not on TikTok. It's one of them that I'm not on. But I do Facebook or Instagram Reels. But getting on video, people can connect with you a little bit more when they see you in a video. Speaking engagements, get out and get in front of people speaking. This is also a great way to sell your books once you have a book, getting in front of people to speak at. One way I had a lot of success early on was speaking at Rotary groups. Every city has a Rotary, and Rotary has a guest speaker every single week. And they're usually either a breakfast or a lunch group. They meet over breakfast or lunch, and they have a speaker. I think he had about 15, 20 minutes. It's not a long time, but it's perfect, especially if you're newer to speaking and a little nervous about it. So it's a shorter time. But then you also have the opportunity to sell your book to that group. So trying to get some speaking events. Church groups are great, women's groups, any of those types of groups that have regular speakers. And number 12, the main thing is just to be consistent. Whatever you're doing, just be consistent and keep doing it. Okay, so real briefly, I want to just kind of talk about the different types of publishing. So I think most everyone is familiar with traditional publishing. And so that's where you hire an agent, you get an agent, and then you pitch your book to the publishers such as Simon and Schuster, Random House, Penguin Publishing, like the big publishers. And in traditional publishing, you usually get an advance, and then they pay for all the out-of-pocket costs of publishing your book. And then that comes out of your royalties. So once you start selling your book, you don't actually make money until you've earned down that advance that you were given, whether that was 5,000, 10,000. The day of big advances really is gone, unless you are a celebrity. So traditional publishing is very hard to get. And most people have this illusion that they're going to get they're going to get an agent and get published traditionally. And it's just not that easy. And I think the biggest misnomer people have about traditional publishing is that they will do the work of selling your book. And it's not. It's the same thing. You have to do all three forms of publishing. You are the one that has to put the work into marketing the book. A traditional publisher might do a little bit for you. They might like send out press releases. They might be able to get you on like your local news. But beyond that, it's all on you to market your book. I want to skip to hybrid. So hybrid is in between traditional and self-publishing. So there are quite a few hybrid publishers out there. And so you pay them a set fee, like say $5,000 for a package, and they will get your book edited, proofread, formatted, designed, and printed. And obviously you have to write the book. And so again, you're the one doing most of the marketing. A hybrid might also like give you some like marketing graphics and tools that you can use. They might create your website for you, but still that marketing bit is on you. And then self-publishing, and that's how I have published all 6 of my books. You're the one doing all the work. So you're going to find an editor, you're going to find a proofreader, you're going to have someone do the design for you, the formatting for you. There are ways to do this for free, but I don't recommend it. I really recommend hiring professionals. But you're looking, I mean, it's not free to publish a book. It can be free to publish a book, but if you want to do it right, you're looking at spending a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of dollars, but you probably, my books have all been in that $2,000 to $3,000 ballpark to produce the book. And that includes printing a couple hundred copies of the book. So the world is waiting to read your story. So boldly go from blog to book. I challenge you to add author to your resume. It really is possible. It's not as hard as we think it's going to be. It's just something we're unfamiliar with and have never done. And so that's why I've created this program to kind of help you walk through all the different steps and connect you with different resources who can help you. Um, so we'll get into a little bit of the nitty gritty about the actual mastermind. Sorry, my mouse is giving me issues here. So how this will work, we begin November 16th, which is next Thursday. And so we're going to meet twice a month on Zoom starting next week. On Thursdays, we meet at 6 p.m. All times are central. And then on Mondays, we meet at 11:30 a.m. And I've staggered it this way because there's always someone who can't do day or evening. And so those of you who can make both work, that's awesome. Those of you who can only do an evening or a daytime, at least you're getting that one live session a month. Everything is recorded, so you will get the replays within 24 hours of each class, and you have access for an entire year after we're done with the program to rewatch and go back to any of the recordings. So in November, we're going to talk about choosing your book niche and creating your platform. In December, we're going to talk about writing your outline and building your audience. January, we're talking about planning the chapters and sharing your why. February, we'll talk about writing and editing and fears and beliefs. March, we'll talk about types of publishing and crowdfunding. April, we'll talk about planning your book launch and ways to use your book. Now, again, no matter where you're at on your book writing journey, even if you've already written your whole thing, you might still get, glimmers of inspiration from the modules of things that you've already done. But if you haven't even started, you're going to get so much information. And my goal is to help you. I'm not saying you're going to get done in these 6 months. You might, especially those of you who have written your manuscript. But I want you to be able to publish your book in 2024 by the end of next year. And I think that's super realistic, even if you haven't started writing it yet. I'm sort of embarrassed to tell people how quickly I wrote my chair yoga book. I literally wrote that in like 2 weeks. So it can be done. I share that because I was on a timeline and I kept procrastinating. I am a procrastinator, I'm not gonna lie. And I had my deadline and I knew I needed to get it done and I got it done. So just all depends how disciplined you are. All right, so the full cost of the 6-month program is $550 if you pay that in full. And if you pay in full, you're going to receive an extra bonus coaching session. So included with the cost, you get all your modules, plus everybody gets 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with me. Throughout that 6-month period, you'll get a total of 3. And then if you pay in full, you get that bonus 4th one. And I also have 2 installments of $300, 3 installments of $215, or 6 installments of $110. I wanted to make this so that you guys had options. I know not everybody can pay in full, but if you do, you get that bonus, you get the cheapest rate, plus you get that extra coaching session. So each month we have our 2 Zoom sessions, and we will have some guest speakers on some of those meetings. Lots of guest speakers to help fill in, because I by far am not an expert on how to actually write. I'm not a grammar expert. I'm not an English major. So I'm going to bring in some folks who can talk about that. But each of the modules, not each module, but each month, we're going to have a guest speaker come in and share their knowledge with you guys as well. And the whole point of this mastermind is to be a supportive community for each other, an accountability group. We all bring strengths and weaknesses to the table. And so what you might have a weakness in, someone might have a strength in and can help you. And so each session will go around and say where we need help or where we can offer help to each other. And I am here to be your biggest cheerleader and your mentor and help keep you accountable where you want to be held accountable. No one's going to make you do anything you don't want to do, but obviously the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. All right, so now I have some time for Q&A if anyone has questions. And these are all of the ways to keep in touch with me. So you can find my podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on social media. My personal is at Amy Zellmer. And then the magazine, of course, is at Midwest Yoga Life Mag. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, also on LinkedIn. And then my personal website and the magazine website. Minimize my screen here. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Drop them in the comment or go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to be unmuted. A couple of you have said you had to run back to work. Back to my real job. I'll keep an eye out for more information. I have to go, but definitely want to get started. Please let me know how to connect. I will do that for you, Linda. So please let me know. Anyone has any questions I can answer for you? I know the biggest question I always get is what's the cost? And so that's why I wanted to cover that right up front with you guys. I don't believe in hiding the cost. And so it's $550 for the full 6-month program. That's less than $100 a month, you guys, if you pay in full. Plus you get that added coaching session. And in these coaching sessions, there are going to be 30-minute coaching sessions, and it's just you and me. And we talk about what your goals are for writing a book. And then at the end, when we wrap up, like, where did we fall short or where did we succeed? What did you learn? So those are laser focused and individualized to you. And then in the group atmosphere, you have a whole support system of writers who can all help support you and lift you up and give you encouragement and accountability. And we have about 5 spots left. I'm capping this at around 10 or 12. I want to keep it smaller and intimate so that we all have an adequate amount of time to share each month or each week or twice a month. And I'm planning for these to be 60 to 90 minutes. Some weeks will be shorter, some weeks will be a little longer, especially if we have a guest speaker. And so getting those dates on your calendar right away so that you can make as many of the live sessions as you can. And of course, you always get the recordings afterwards. All right, and I'm just going to drop in the chat one more time the direct link. The direct link to open up that sales page for you if you want to get signed up. And if there are no more questions, I will stop taking up your time and let you get back on with your day. But thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate it. And if you're watching the recording, go ahead and drop a question or a comment in the comments here on YouTube as well, and I will respond to those. So thank you all so much for your interest. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here and I'm happy to answer them for you. Thank you all so much. Have a good day, everyone.